Guys, I want to talk with you today about your identity as a real estate investor. I know this may sound like a weird or unique topic, but I really think that this is important to your philosophy around real estate. So your like how you approach real estate. And so when it comes to your identity as a real estate investor, I think here are some factors that impact it. So the first one is, you know, what are you most proud of? Now, this is going to vary from investor to investor and even from season to season. But for example, is your identity wrapped in, your renovations, the before and afters, how well you renovate, construct, develop, a property, the design, the style, all of those things. Because I promise you, there's people out there that is their thing. I promise you, God did not gift me with that. But there's some people like that is their entire world in real estate is in the, call it the design, call it the construction, call it, any of that stuff. It could also be, the deal making. Again, I mean, I'm here at a conference here in Tampa, and there are in a room full of deal makers, right? So it's your ability to structure deals, to do things along those lines. That is your entire, really the lens in which you see almost all of your real estate, right? So deal making, deal structuring, um, maybe it's your skill sets, the problems you know how to solve, the people that you've helped. Maybe it's, the stopping the foreclosures, it's helping people become first time home buyers, selling on financing to help people who would have otherwise, struggled to get into homes as homeowners, and helping through that, whatever that may be. And I think this first part, it's your identity as a real estate investor oftentimes is wrapped up in your skill set, your greatest skill sets, right? Or the one that you're most, aligned with. So speaking of alignment, your identity as a real estate investor, it absolutely gets wrapped up in your values. Like what do you value? Some people, and when I say value, it's what matters to you and what do you prioritize. And so that can vary from investor to investor. Um, it could be everything from, do you value being a student? So you're constantly learning. Is that someone who you value, take pride in your craftsmanship, right? Do you value how much money you make? That the dollar, the almighty dollar, is the biggest thing that drives you. Um, is your biggest value impact? Is your biggest impact, um, biggest value, family, uh, the people that you do the deals with, right? So a lot of your identity, so the first one we talked about is your skill set, right? The second one is, your values, right? Third one, it's, who do you surround yourself with? So your identity as a real estate investor is indeed impacted by, so who you surround yourself with. So maybe these are other investors that you hang out with. Um, these are places where you learn. So this could be everything from a podcast. It could be Clubhouse. It could be social media content you consume. It could be conferences, whatever that may be. Who you learn from truly matters. Some of you saw that I recently broke down a recent publication from the Arizona Attorney General about an operator that is getting sued over there, right? And there's claims of, basically bad practices. Who you learn from absolutely matters. And from the extreme side, like with that lawsuit, and ultimately, there's a level. It reminds me when I lived in Thailand. If you don't know, over, at this point, shoot, 10 plus years ago, I lived in Thailand for an entire year. And there was a level that I could tell these Thai students where their English teacher was from. Because although they were speaking English to me or practicing their English, but then if they would have a British accent, well, then their English teacher was probably a British person, or if they had an Australian accent or an Indian accent or whatever. And so there's a level there that who you hang out with who you spend the most time with, who you learn from, you start to sound like them. And so a lot of your identity is also who you emulate. And so I wanted to give this one little tip here when it comes to who you're spending a lot of time with. So, like, for example, a lot of people know me for creative financing. And I've got, for example, like I'll do a subject to deal, or people will come to me with questions for subject to. And I'll be like, look, I've got my way of doing subject to deals. Number one, I'm always learning, trying to improve, right? But I may do them different than XYZ so and so. Now, it is on you because you are responsible for you. It is on you um, to do your best to learn, right? But at the same time, I don't believe in being a copy and paste, replica of your mentor, right? What I would rather see from you is that you take, a few different voices in the real estate world that you align with, right? That you would want to trade places with, that you like the path that they're on, all of those things. And you say, I'm going to take, for example, let's just say you have three different mentors. Many people know that I have three main mentors: Peter Fortunato, Leon Johnson, and John Shop. Those three men have a lot of similarities, but also some differences, right? Well, let's just take the topic of subject to. They all have different opinions on subject to, but they have some similar ones, but also different. Here's the thing: if I go and I learn from each one of them on subject to, it's not pick the one that you most like and then you just 100% replicate them. No. Instead, what I would encourage your identity as a real estate investor and how you implement and act upon that identity is that you take a mixture of what you've learned from those different sources, and then you create basically how you're going to execute on that. And so that's something that I believe too many people they're almost, well, so and like there's a level you should, hey, why do you do this? Like I want to know, like I want to understand the why behind. Um, but keep that in mind. One of the other impacts for your identity in as a real estate investor is your goals. Your goals will shape you. Your goals will shape who you should hang out with, who you should learn from. Um, a lot of different things along those lines. And so keep in mind that your goals will vary, but they will definitely mold you. And then lastly, I had this thought, and which kind of led to the whole this being the topic I want to share with you guys is that I believe, and this is something I witnessed myself and experienced myself, but I believe that this is something I see a lot in the investor community, is that there is a sense of an identity crisis until clarity is found. And what I mean by that is that a lot of investors operate without true clarity. Like they think they know what they want, but they've never really gone through the actual work to get clear on what they want. And so therefore they're just grasping at a lot of things. And so I believe that a lot of investors suffer from a level of an identity crisis because they don't have clarity. And so um that's my thoughts for today. Look, what's your identity as a real estate investor? I want to encourage you to kind of think through some of the things, because how you do real estate matters, who you learn from matters, what you value matters, right? But a lot of times, don't be so focused on the houses, the deal making, all those things that you don't think about the overall bigger picture here. And so that's another thought for today, guys. As you guys know, one video a day for the first 100 days of 2025. Guys, we're nearing the end of this. We are on the home stretch with these videos. Keep tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another day, another video.